Okay. Well, here's me being extremely vulnerable. I have never had to encounter this question, and I've never had to come face to face with this question before, because it's not something that's like, it's not something that I ask myself. I would, because I've never had to answer this. I've never had to go down, I'm being 100% honest. I have never had to go down this line of logic before, so I am treading in uncharted territory.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sip&Awe, where God puts you on awesome. I'm your host, Brandon Windsor, and this is part 2 with Reagan Marnie and Sean Tynan. If you haven't checked out the first episode, stop what you are doing. Go back, check it out, and then you can come back. Okay? So we're essentially doing a Q&A, but it can turn into a debate if we do not agree with each other. I hope you guys doing good?
Oh, yeah.
Having fun. All right, we're just going to jump right into this thing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can now listen to Sip&Awe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Okay, first question is from Amaye King. I love this question. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Rick. Would you care? Would you care?
Yeah, I can go first. So, here's the thing. First off, let's break down the question a little bit. We say good people, right? So that is a presupposition of good. First and foremost, there is no good thing but God. Anything we consider righteousness is dirty rags. So they may be a good person, but anyone can do anything wrong and invite sin and hurt into their lives, right?
Baby,
I think sometimes something I've considered is it was a very left field feeling story, but realistically, David, right, is a man after God's own heart, right? He did so many faithful things. He was an amazing king, but he sinned. And when God asked him, God actually gave him the choice. He was like, hey, you can choose how you want to be punished because you messed up, right? And David chose for the kingdom to suffer 3 days, right? It seemed like the simplest option. And lots of people started dying, right? That happened because of David's decision. Does that make David a bad person? Is he now evil? Or is he a good person with something bad happening to him? And what about the rest of the people who were killed? Are they suddenly bad people? No. It's because we live in a world of sin and actions have consequences. Right?
I like it.
And so to consider, and sometimes it's things that seem out of our control, right? But that's because your sin affects other people. We are not individuals so much as what you do will never affect another person, right? Or that what someone else does will never affect you.
Right.
Right. We like to think that. We like to think it's just us and ourselves and we're focused on that. And if I'm good, then nothing bad will ever happen. But that's not the case, right? Someone else's poor decisions can affect me.
Yeah.
And as long as we live in this fallen world, as long as we live in this world with so much evil being perpetuated, right? Like I may be, like hypothetically, I'm a great person, right? Hypothetically. And I sit at home, I have my doors locked, I take care of homeless people and stuff and whatever. And some person decides, hey, that's a great house to rob. And he breaks in and sees me there. I try and obviously I'm like, hey, please don't steal my stuff. And he shoots me. Right? Does that mean I'm a bad person now? Does that mean that God failed? Or does that mean that that person exercised his free will and chose something poorly? Right? So it's easy to question and to wonder why bad things happen to good people. But if you live in a world that's completely infested with sin, that's completely infested with evil, and sometimes evil people, right? Then it kind of like there's a good reason for why bad things happen. That's why you need Jesus. Jesus isn't a cure-all. Jesus didn't come to bring a comfortable life, right? He himself warns, like, in this life you will have troubles, right? And then in another part of the Bible, he says that don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will have troubles of its own. Worry about today. It has its own troubles, right? He didn't come to bring a comfortable, easy, relaxed life. He came to give us the option of hope and to develop us as people, right?
Yes.
I mean, to keep it simple, realistically, look at any child who's ever had a perfectly comfortable life and never been told no and gotten everything they wanted. They might not have had the. It's a funny example, but
it's true.
You would say from their viewpoint they've had a perfect life. Nothing bad has ever happened. They've never so much as been told no. But they're terrible people.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because there was no development. They never had to learn to deal with anything. They never had to learn to appreciate or be kind to others. It's all about them. So
that's so good.
Yeah, so I'm just
Sean,
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I'm just kidding.
Well, what's funny is like whenever I was going through like all these questions, I was thinking about them. I was like, man, like, I usually have a quick response for almost anything because usually I can think of everything and then just like boil it down to like one thing that summarizes the whole topic. This one really got to me.
See, I'm the opposite. I try never to have a super quick response.
Yeah, that's the one thing about me is I'm just like, yes, it's this. Kind of like Peter. It's like, yes, you are the Christ. But then Jesus, then a couple seconds later, is like,
get behind me, Satan.
You get behind me, Satan.
Dang it.
But no, whenever it was talking about why good things or bad things happen to good people, my first initial response, we live in a fallen world. But I had to say, like, okay, wait, hold on, stop. Let me back up and let me analyze why I said that. Mm-hmm. So then I looked at the 3 wisdom books, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job. Yeah. Proverbs has a very cause and effect. You do this, you do good things happen. You do bad things happen. Mm-hmm. So it's very cut and dry with saying, yes, it is preferable to live good. Mm-hmm. And we would argue and say, yes, it is very good to live these good moral rights. Mm-hmm. Then Ecclesiastes comes in the mix and says, well, it's not always the case. Like kind of like it was funny because I watched a Bible Project video who described this perfectly on Ecclesiastes as like a harsh critic. I was like, no, not always. Yeah, not always. Doesn't always go to the swiftest.
Yeah, it's almost like you can increase the ratio and the likelihood of good things happening in your life, and decrease the likelihood of bad things happening by doing good things, but you can't ever make it perfect.
Right. And with that, like he said, like you can try. No, like that's the thing about it. He's like, you should. You should. No, he's saying no. He makes the point. Yeah. You should do it. It's the right thing to do. However, that's like it won't always like life is random. Like when he says life is meaning, that word in Hebrew is like hevel, which means like a wisp of smoke. And like it's like, it looks beautiful for a second, and then it looks like it can form a shape, and then it goes away. And if you try to grab it, it goes away. But like whenever he's talking about like life doesn't always work out that way. It's like, it's almost like a depressing book when you're like, holy cow, like really everything, like because in English it's like everything's meaningless. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my goodness, everything is meaningless. But then you look at Job, the book of Job. Who takes both of those, and Satan comes up to God and is like, well, he's just using the system, kind of like in Proverbs where like you do good things happen to you. Oh, Job's just like using the system to get what he wants, and God's like, He's like, no, have you looked at my servant Job? He's not. But Satan's like, all right, just watch. Let me just show you. Let me show you. Takes away all this stuff, and then for like the rest of the book, he's like going back and forth. He's like, oh, God's so amazing. But then he's like, I curse the day I was born. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end, he asks God, like, why did you make all these things happen to me? And then God shows him the complexities of the entire, like, first he shows him these 2 beasts, and then he shows him the complexity of the universe and how each facet works with every single, like, works with everything else, and how each atom works with every other atom to form, it's really cool. Mm-hmm. But whenever I read that, like whenever I saw that, it took me down like this like weird rabbit hole of like, I'm not in control. Mm-hmm. I am not in control. Because if I'm like, why are bad things happening to me? One, I don't have control over the entire planet. I don't have control over what's going to happen to me tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But as humans, we naturally do. Like, I can say right now, all right, tomorrow is Sunday. I am going to go to church. Mm-hmm. I have I have control that I'm going to go there, but I don't have control if some guy comes out with speeding down the road and hits me. I don't have control of that. But and like it was like really cool since you don't have full control, stop trying to take full control. Let God be God. And in the end of the book, at the end of Job, it's not just like, oh yeah, well my life sucks ending. No, he got back everything twice fold. Twice or seven?
Twice fold.
Twice fold everything that he lost. Not as a, oh, you passed the test, but as like just a reminder that God is in control. Even if everything were to fall apart, he still is in control.
Yeah.
So that's how I was able to like wrap my brain around why bad things happen to good people. Not because God's directly doing them, but it's other people's free will and other facets and other variables factoring in that aren't like, oh, it will always be in my favor. That's just not the case.
Yeah. Plus, I think sometimes people forget. Sometimes things like that, like with Job, sometimes things like that happen because it's proving of our faith. It's testing of our faith. Mm-hmm. Because if you choose to stop believing in God because bad things happen, you never really believed in him to begin with.
Right.
I personally kind of categorize people like that as whether or not you're a windfall Christian, right? Like you're a Christian if things are going good things are happening. You know, it's like, oh, this surprise and this blessing and it's wonderful. But, oh, this bad thing happened. God's not really all that real, is he? He's not really all that good, is he? I don't know. I mean, he was good yesterday when I found $1,000 on the floor, but now my car has a popped tire and, you know, or I hit this pole. So obviously God's not watching over me. Like, you know, or I got sick. God must hate me now. It's like, it's like you obviously have not taken time to learn the character of God and to actually trust him with your life. You trust him when things are good, right?
Preach it, Reagan. Preach it.
So it's not a healthy relationship. It'd be like being married. You two are married, right?
Yeah.
Not to each other.
Not to each other. But imagine if your wife came to you one day and was like, "Hey, I know you were making really good money yesterday, but you got you got a demotion, so you're making a little less money. I don't love you anymore. So here's my divorce paper. I'm gonna leave." Like she never really loved you to begin with. It was just while things are good, I'm happy, and when things get hard, I'm done. So it's kind of like that. It's exposing that in yourself, and there is opportunity to change that. But if you don't know you're like that, how are you going to change it?
I like it. Yeah. Also, too, I think we can use any circumstance, good or bad, to give God glory and to grow us, right? Like, I think about like working out. It's like everyone uses an example, but in order for a muscle to grow, it has to be broken down. And so when something happens to us, we can use that to grow us and to be more faithful. I think another example could be with finances, right? If I don't have a lot of finances right now, I can learn how to store what I have well now. Then when I have $1 million, I'm not blowing it off and being dumb, you know? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to jump to Amaye's wife, Gabrielle. Okay, this is a fun question.
Okay.
Is it biblical to say that men need sex? Is it biblical to say that men need sex? And I think it's funny that it's all men here. I would want to ask a woman this, but...
Well, here's the thing. If you're going with biblical, it doesn't matter what gender you are. You're able to answer, right? Although you may want a different perspective. The claim that only a man or a woman can answer a certain question that's based on the Bible, I think is kind of a falsehood we've made so that people don't have to answer hard questions, or you can believe what you want because no one's going to disagree with you. That's my own little, I guess, soapbox there, because I've seen a lot of people that are like, you can't say that because you're a man. I'm like, it's in the Bible. Why can't I say it?
Yeah.
Right? I think for me, so John, do you want to go first, actually?
Well, I kind of, yeah. Well,
because you're married, actually.
Yes.
You got a unique perspective on this. So
I'm going to actually...
Remember, your wife might be watching this. How much do you need? Just kidding.
Dude. Daily.
I'm not
the
gonna
eyes of fear.
Okay. Well, here's me being extremely vulnerable. I have never had to encounter this question, and I've never had to come face to face with this question before. because it's not something that's like, it's not something that I ask myself. I would, shoot. Because I've never had to answer this. I've never had to go down, I'm being 100% honest. Yeah. I have never had to go down this line of logic before, so I am treading in uncharted territory.
Hey guys, I want to just stop real quick and say thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I want to challenge you with something. If you know someone in your life that you know that they would like this episode, stop what you're doing and send it their way so that we can keep growing the Sip&Awe family. All right, thank you for sharing, and let's get back to the episode.
So
I'd say you're also earlier on in your marriage. Like, I think you would have more experience to answer this question if you were probably like 10 years in. But you're not there yet.
Okay, here's what I can say. I will say that in a marriage, sex keeps it together. Not saying that that's the glue that keeps it together, but in a way, it can help and sustain a marriage.
Yeah.
Because it's not, because like the purpose of sex isn't just to procreate. That is the purpose. Is to all right, come together and
you're good.
Come together and multiply to create more more people. However, I would also say, then why, for the guy and the girl, is it pleasurable in that arena? Because if it was just for procreation, it wouldn't. If it was just for procreation, it wouldn't be pleasurable. It would just be okay. Yeah, you just do it and just get it over with. It's kind of like a robotic thing. It's like me drinking water. Now, obviously, water, if you haven't had it in like, I don't want to compare. This is gonna be. That's I'm making sure. I don't want to compare like men's needs in that regard to just just food.
He's trying not to compare sex to water. Just so
I'm
you
not.
guys know.
I'm not trying to say that. I'm just using an analogy.
But he is.
If you haven't had water in a month,
you're dead.
Well, when you're dead, but if you haven't had water in like a day, you're like, man, I think I need some water. You need to drink water. Now, the ratio for sex may be a lot longer, and I'm not saying you're gonna die. Like that's what I'm saying. I haven't charted this, but I would say to enjoy each other. Like that's like that's the purpose of it, is to enjoy each other, not to just just get it done. All right, cool, bye.
But does a man need it?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta look at. Hold on,
I think,
give me a second.
if I may, for me, I went to scripture for this because it's like biblically, do men need, right?
Do men need
it? And so for me, the passage that I went to was in 1 Corinthians 7. So if I could read that real quick.
Let's go.
So it says, the husband must fulfill his duty to his wife, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does not likewise. But the husband does. And likewise also the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Stop depriving one another, except by agreement for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer, and come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So...
I mean,
I'm intrigued.
Okay.
So
with that,
I would
like,
say,
hey, stop temptation.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think, and I'm not married, so I can speak freely without any concern about what my wife might see, right? Mm-hmm. Which not saying you are.
Yeah. No.
Obviously,
I'm just,
don't worry. This is truly what he believes. It's a good thing, right? No restrictions. But I think for me, I would say it's less that men need sex so much as your relationship needs sex, which sounds like a funny thing to say, but think of it like this. What is the one key difference between you and your wife's relationship as opposed to you and any other female who you will be friends with? There is one thing. You can only share this with one person.
Holy cow.
That is the whole point
one
of
level
it,
of
right?
intimacy that
now,
nobody
now
else
I think
has.
it's kind of misconstrued these days because it's given so freely and so flippantly, and people don't even know what to do with it. Like, think of it like this. People are like, go and sleep with whoever, but we don't know how we balance that with if you're not happy about it the next day. How do you fix this, right? Or people being hurt so badly. Like, is sex serious or is it not serious, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a secular viewpoint. But biblically, we know it's meant for that one partner. It's meant for that one relationship, right? Which means you're only ever going to share that with one person. Paul even goes on in that chapter to talk about how we need to
sorry, continue. Sorry.
He says personally, if you can, don't get married. He's like, devote yourself to God, don't get married, right?
But if you have passion,
burning passion, don't tempt yourself. Get married. Why? Realistically, so you can have sex.
Because we need
it. There is a unique thing there for that, right? And for men, a lot of men really are physically needing that, right? It is something that is built into us. Our testosterone drives us. Even women who have been found to have higher sex drives tend to be found with higher testosterone in their system. It's actually unhealthy, right?
Weird.
To have that much testosterone for a woman. But the point of it being, if my wife were to ask me, do you need sex? I would say, do you need emotional support?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I wasn't trying to make
listen. It's because
I love that question
because
it made me laugh.
Because the question becomes not do you need sex, because that's putting into a category of I'm servicing you. The question is, do I love you? And if I love you, am I willing to show that I love you?
Well,
because like if I love my wife and she needs something, why would I not give it to her? Like whether she's feeling a certain way, whether she's sad or whatever. If I just want her to be happy, if I love her, why would I not do it, right? And why would I not find a way to enjoy it? Like there are some things you do because you don't enjoy it at all. They enjoy it. You just do it. But given time, you usually try and find ways to enjoy it because not that it blesses you. Like, for example, I know a friend here who used to hate country music.
I hate it.
And now he's wearing a country hat, a cowboy hat. What
now he's listening to country music all the time. Why did that happen? Because his wife introduced it to him. And at first he hated it. But he's told himself, I love you.
Wait.
So I'm going to learn to enjoy this.
Okay. All right. With that being said.
And it grew into something of its own. And that's a huge thing, I think, can be applied to any aspect of a relationship, including sex. If you see it as a duty, and it's like, I just have to do this to make you okay. Why are you doing it in the first place? Do you actually love that person, or are you just kind of, leave me alone for the next hour or two, at least, right? So I would say both people need a perspective shift. Just like I would tell any man. Like, if your wife comes to you upset about something, and you're like, why are we talking about this? Like, you're just, I'm done. Why? Why don't you actually find a way to take care of her? Why don't you actually be there for her? Right? Because it's a give and take. And realistically, once you're married, you're one. So why would you not want to take care of yourself? Right? So biblically speaking, I would say, yes. I mean, that's the whole point of marriage, honestly. It sounds funny to say because I don't want it to sound carnal. But realistically, let's be honest, that's the one thing that makes a marriage different than any other relationship.
Fair.
I'm only going to have one relationship that involves that.
Yeah.
No relationship with the woman in my life is ever going to be the same thing, right? So that's what makes it different. And if it doesn't happen, right, let's consider the consequences. If it doesn't happen, what are you doing? Inviting temptation. For what? Possibly cheating, porn, like something to take care of yourself, because that's a desire God placed mostly in men. So why would you even open up the door to that? Right?
Yep. Like,
if you wouldn't want to be opening yourself up to the desire to steal food, why would you starve yourself?
So to make a long story short, yes.
long story short,
I'm not with all that context being said, not in like just a selfish nature, focusing on yourself, but focusing on your partner as well as yourself. I would say overall, yes.
I can answer as a married man.
Oh
yes.
See, I want.
We need it.
I was about to say.
I need it bad.
I was just listening. I was like, as a married man, yes.
Praise God.
Praise God, baby.
All right.
I feel like it's a tough question. It's a little bit taboo for some people, but realistically, like, let's go biblically. Why are you married in the first place?
All right. I'm going to ask this question for the last 5 minutes because I want to use the last 2 questions for the next episode. Okay. So this one is very quick. This one's very fun. Are dinosaurs in the Bible?
Oh my
This
gosh.
is from Amaye King. Are dinosaurs in the Bible?
you go first. You go first.
The story regarding this topic.
I don't remember what story you're talking about. I probably will once you start, but at this moment I can't.
So y'all remember my
recall.
first episode? I don't know if you do. I mentioned that debating in the dorms, and I made a comment that there was one person who, like, there was two guys arguing, and it was like Reddit and Wikipedia going at it.
Oh.
Yes.
This is Wikipedia, right? Or actually, no, not Wikipedia. It was I don't know if it was
Encyclopedia and something else.
The Encyclopedia Britannica and Reddit going at it. This is the Encyclopedia Britannica, and the other guy
very overhyped.
So, like, these guys, they were going at it in the dorms, like going back and forth.
If dinosaurs are biblical.
It's like, oh yes, the beasts that were in Job were actually talking about dinosaurs. When in context, it was talking about God's. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was talking about God's, like, authority. Like, these animals are so big and we're so small. It's one interpretation of how I saw it. But realistically, I don't go to the Bible for archaeological proof on. No, hold on. No, hear me out. I don't go to the Bible to learn about the Aztec Empire.
Why not? Just kidding.
Well, one, because did the Aztecs exist? Oh, I don't know. We have a whole. Like, one, we have the temples, we have the language, we have stuff written about them. Oh, but they weren't in the Bible. Yeah, cameras weren't in the Bible, but is there a camera right there? Yes. So I don't go to the Bible for like stuff like that. So if dinosaurs, I'm like, oh, there's a giant porous skeleton right here that like whenever you analyze it, oh yeah, it's bone, and it's a gigantic freaking chicken. And I'm like, oh, that's fake. Like, really? Like, if I find a woolly mammoth, oh, well, technically it's not in the Bible, so I guess it doesn't exist. It's fake.
I see what you're saying. Just because if it's not in the Bible doesn't mean it didn't exist.
So what's your thoughts then?
Do
yes
they exist?
Or no?
Yes.
Do you think dinosaurs?
If they're in the Bible?
Were they mentioned at all in the Bible? What do you say?
I would say by name the word dinosaur, no. Because the word dinosaur didn't exist.
Okay.
But large beasts, I mean,
Your mom. Just kidding. Reagan, go ahead and take the last.
I would say I don't know.
2 minutes and 40 seconds.
I'd say for them being mentioned in the Bible specific. Do I think dinosaurs were in biblical times? Very possibly. I mean, carbon dating is not exactly perfect. We know that. A lot of people like to swear by it, but realistically, when you can take two pieces of rock from right next to each other and get completely different dates by millions of years, and that continues to change throughout the scientific community in and of itself, it's not exactly trustworthy. But I digress. For them being in the Bible, technically in Job 40, it is. You said Job chapter 40 is where it's mentioned. The behemoth. So the behemoth, the way it's described, does sound a lot like a dinosaur, as there is no current modern animal that sounds like it. So
isn't it like a brachiosaurus or something?
Yeah, it sounds like a brachiosaurus. And then I would say if you include that, yes. If you include sea creatures, by definition, dinosaurs almost exclusively refer to land animals, but from animals from said time period, right? Then the Leviathan would also be considered or mentioned as a mention of a dinosaur.
Right on.
So in those cases, I'd say yes. It's a little up to interpretation, but I would not. That's a picture roughly of a brachiosaurus.
I looked up
little cartoon
technically
dinosaur.
Brontosaurus, but I was like,
that's it.
Or
in the Bible.
Or for our audience who might remember it, The Land Before Time, Littlefoot, he's a brachiosaurus. Pretty sure. So are his parents. So if you see his parents, those are brachiosauruses. But the point being, I'd say, yeah, I think they're mentioned.
That's cool.
At least a little bit. Now, I'm not surprised that Job didn't say the brachiosaurus.
Yeah, because the word didn't exist.
Especially because like we're making that up as English-speaking people to describe something. So I'm not surprised that's not in there. But yeah, I'd say they're mentioned.
That's awesome. This is not biblical, but it makes sense in my mind. Okay. I heard
you got 30 seconds.
That the meteorite that killed all the dinosaurs was Satan's fall.
Because he was thrown out of heaven like a bolt of lightning.
Do you agree? Do you agree?
You know
makes sense to me.
You know what? Headcanon.
It makes sense.
You know what? Just because Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Why not?
Headcanon. Why did the dinosaurs die? Because God threw a really good fastball.
Satan killed them. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Q&A with Reagan and Sean. You can now listen to Sip&Awe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You can now become a Patreon member for $5 a month. But if that's too expensive, you can donate today with Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time with Reagan and Sean.